how I got into anthropology. First thing, what I remember is that our father had a good library of, as he was a writer and also related to, he was also, he had a good collection of Assamese, English, Bangla, and other books, mainly in English and Assamese. And as I was studying in an Assamese medium school, but that is another story. But still, uh, uh, whatever I got, whatever book I got, I found in the library on his almirah. Then I started reading it. Mm, and as he was a poet, and he used to give us give some poems to copy. Uh, so in that library there were some books for children, but mostly what I remember most is that some autobiographies of Assamese writers, and one and some books on ethnography. That is not ethnography as such, uh, on the folk tales of Assam, folk tales of the tribal folk tales, and and it was these books, the folk tales of the tribal communities of Northeast India, and at that time, the entire Northeast India was known as Assam. It was during the 1960s, so mid 60s, and so it was all the even the Manipur, and I will come to that later on about when I will discuss with you about Northeast India. Then, but still at that time, the Arunachal Pradesh, what we call, it was under Assam, but at the same time, it was in direct control with the direct control under the External Affairs Ministry of India, central government. So, so what happened? So Homor Janajati or Khadhu, that means stories from the tribal folk tales, of the folk tales of the tribes of Assam. So in those Assamese books attracted me, or first I came into direct, not actually that, but through books, I got acquainted with those tribal communities of Northeast India. That was Assam at the time. We had to draw maps of Northeast India, the entire Northeast India now, except Manipur and Tripura. Those were princely states, and those were not excluded in Assam, but we had to cover each other to show those two states also. So Mizoram, Nagaland, every state were under Assam. So these were different districts of Assam. Uh, and now, coming back to how I then those books gave me some glimpse into the lives of those communities, their religious beliefs and practices, a little bit, whatever I understood then about their families, or about their stories related to the relationship between nature and the origins of the humanity as an origin of different institutions or different practices, or even how for example, how the earth was created. Then there were some other stories related to uh, how sun came into being, or how the sun or moon or stars became were born. So these were some of the stories, and And this was one of the first. I didn't know about anthropology. I came to know it much later, but still, I was very much infatuated with these tribal life around me in my father's library, within that library. Then when I was in middle school, middle school, 4, 5, 6, around that, 1970, I suppose, uh, where I was, we were living in our, the campus of Cotton College was very much close to the site of Ambari excavation site. The Ambari excavation started in, I suppose, in and around 1970. So it was very within a, not even a half kilometer. There was a shortcut also. So what happened? And as all those professors, Professor M.C. Goswami, sorry, M.C. Goswami, then Professor T.C. Sharma, and those were, and their students were excavating the site of Ambari. And my father used to go and visit the excavation site, and he was also allowed to participate in the excavation process. And what happened during the break, all the professors, Professor Madhav Chandra Goswami, Professor Tron Kharma, and many others whom I didn't know at that time, but they came to our home for refreshments, light refreshments. They took rest and took tea and all, and again went back for the excavation site. And these influenced me, and I was fascinated by this world. I didn't know about archaeology at that time, but I also met Professor Professor Sankalia also came to our home, to our residence actually, and I met him. I took his autograph, but at that time I didn't know about the science of archaeology, uh, but still I knew that it is a very important area, and it fascinated me. Along the same period, I also got some books written in Assamese by Professor Bhuvan Mohan Das, B.M. Das, as he is popularly known as, and he was a biological anthropologist. But he wrote many small books on anthropology for the beginners or for the school children, or even I started reading his books while I was in the lower primary stage. So these books also gave me an insight into this science of anthropology. And gradually, when I have to, for example, when I had to write on what you'll become or what is your aim in life, it was a very popular question that were asked in the question papers of our literature, in either in English or in Assamese paper. It comes that what is your aim in life, or write an essay on aim in life, your aim in life. So I always started, I didn't write about becoming a doctor or engineer or professor like that, but I wrote that I will become an archaeologist. And at that time, I thought archaeology and anthropology was the same or identical, actually. Then I gradually, when I, at my higher secondary level, after passing school level, then I took up anthropology. Then I took up anthropology as one of the subjects. And I thought I will be next I will take up archaeology. What happened? Then when I passed HS level with anthropology, then I went to Vishwabharati, and there was no archaeology. but it was an Indology. The subject was Indology. Then I applied there, but due to some reasons, personal reasons, I didn't go, but I got the chance of studying Indology. But I came back to Guwahati and took up anthropology as my honors course. It was known as honors at that time. And as part of that course, we had to we had to undergo, or we had to go for field work as a part of our curriculum. So we went to a village in now Karbi Anglong. It was known as, yes, it is Karbi Anglong. So before that, it was known as Mikir Hills, United Mikir and Mikir and North Kachar Hills. It was known as United Mikir and North Kachar Hills. But by the time it was, when we went, 1979, I suppose, yes, to that village called Rongkanthir in nearby Difu, the district headquarters, and it was there when we all the group. It was a group a group of 11, I suppose. I remember 11 students. We went there, and along with her supervisor, Professor Oditi Barua. And it was a first, after this field work, the first glimpse into another culture's workings. I became really immersed. In this first fieldwork, the topic I was allotted was ritual life of the Karbis of that particular village, Rongkanthir. So, as I collected information on rituals, then I got a glimpse into the symbolic nature of human relations or human culture, that we teach, we learn, we write, we know that what are the, we answer such questions as what are the characteristic features of culture. We write, it is symbolic, it is the man-made part of environment, and that these all theoretical learnings became very much real in our first field work. Then there were lots of books on Karbis at that time, because Assamese medium was the medium of instruction in in that generation. So the senior generation Karbi learned scholars, they wrote mainly in Assamese, so there were lots of Assamese books as well as in English. Nowadays there are many English very good books on folklore of the Karbis written by their native writers, native scholars. So that was the first experience of another culture, and it is very important that students of anthropology should first have an contact with another culture to understand our own culture. So from that onwards, next fieldwork, what I, of course, as a part of a PG course in Guwahati University, was in Garo Hills. I chose the Garo Hills group. There were two groups in that batch, we were taken up either we were sorry I went to Garo Hills, and in Garo Hills I was exposed to the matrilineal system, the workings of matrilineal system, and it is very important to understand the workings of matrilineal system for a student of anthropology. Either it is best if we can visit uh, some matrilineal community, but if not, at least we should read good ethnographic works. Then we can know that these are only alternatives that human beings face while selecting the mode of uh, reckoning the social world, how this social world is made up of. In case of religion, it is mainly with the adjustments, either in all the rituals deal mainly with the problems related to human beings and its relationship with the environment. But here, the social environment is in social organization or social structure, it is the social relations that matters most. So in this way, my study as a student of anthropology was, thank you.